The parents have to set some realistic boundaries while always prioritizing family and school above the fun time that the kids are on there, and then to definitely monitor in some way, shape, or form what their kids are doing on there, whether it's through communicating with other kids through apps or whether it's playing games and things like that.
You're listening to the smartsocial.com podcast, your trusted source for real-world tactics that keep students safe and help them to shine online. I'm your host, Josh Ochs. Each week, I sit down with K-12 superintendents, district leaders, and community voices who are shaping digital safety. We discuss wins, struggles, and strategies used to guide students so they can be safe and successful online. Now let's get back to the conversation.
Hello, my name is Theron Schutte. I'm the superintendent of the Marshalltown Community School District in Marshalltown, Iowa. We're located in the center of the state, about 50 minutes due east of the state capital, Des Moines, Iowa. We have 10 attendance centers within the district serving approximately 5,300 students.
Superintendent, it's so great to have you here today. Welcome to all of our audience and listeners, whether you're a superintendent or a parent or guardian or anyone in between. We're here to keep kids safe on social media so they can someday be successful. And that means shine online so that they can use the digital tools in a safe way. And when they're 25, they are moved out of your home and they're resilient kids and they're navigating the digital world safely when you're not around. I'm excited today to ask the superintendent some questions. We're going to dive into some student safety questions. We're going to dive into some parent engagement ideas, parents and other staff members on how we can work together. And then at the very end, we're going to look at some dialogue starters on how do we get closer, have a better relationship with our kids as a trusted parent, guardian, and the kiddos. How do we partner with the kids? Even if they roll their eyes, we're going to show you some ideas. Superintendent, what type of teacher did you start out as in the beginning of your career?
Yeah, this is the 41st year for me being an Iowa educator, and the first 7 years were as an American history and world history teacher at the middle school level.
And then you became a principal.
Yeah, then I became an assistant principal at the district the building where I taught. After 10 years, I wound up relocating and became a lead middle school principal for 9.5 years. And then I jumped into the world of superintendency in that same district. And I've now been superintendent in 3 districts over the past 21 years.
Great. Well, it's good to have you here today. We're going to put on that principal hat and especially the teacher hat that you started out with, which will be great because we're going to talk about keeping kiddos safe today. So the first thing I want to ask you, superintendent, is after these 220 amazing superintendents who've been on our podcast across 45 different states, we've heard a consistent trend nationwide. And it may be different. Some of our viewers might go, oh, no, we have perfect kids. Or a lot of them will say, that sounds like my community. Or maybe there's little parts of this. We're hearing that students are growing up in a digital world filled with powerful technology, artificial intelligence, AI, social media, but they're lacking in some cases the maturity and the guidance to use it safely. Parents, I want you to think of it like a car. Is your kid ready at 9 years old to drive a car safely on the road? Maybe not, right? And we grow into that and get that maturity. Now, the result in some cases with all these digital tools and everything is more student absences we're hearing, lower focus, rising cyberbullying, declining self-esteem, AI misuse in the classroom. It's a wild, wild west there. But in addition, we're hearing that parents are trying to raise good kids in a world they didn't grow up in. A world where now tech is moving faster than safety policies. We're hearing teens are clever and they know how to hide on apps and online behavior. And safety lessons are like whack-a-mole. They usually come after a crisis because we're trying to figure out what do we protect from next. It's not easy. Superintendent, are there any other trends on this topic that you have seen so we can alert other school districts before they see them?
Well, all of those issues that my colleagues have mentioned have been realized issues within our district over time and the other districts that I've been in as well. This district, like the last, has been a one-on-one district. So we provide a device for every student or have a device available for them, kindergarten through 12th grade, and actually probably preschool is part of that as well. We only allow our 5th grade students through high school to actually take those devices home. All of these are real issues. With providing kids devices comes the responsibility of also educating them as to how to be a good digital citizen. And so we work really hard at doing that at each transition as they go from elementary to intermediate school to middle school and then again to high school. And we also try to inform and or engage our parents in opportunities to learn about how to help support their children, whether it's with school related things using technology or whether it's just simply allowing them to use their devices for what they want to while they're under their parents' guidance at home.
Yeah, that's good tips. And what I really heard also is you're educating them on how to be good digital citizens, especially as they transition with different grades and everything. Can you give me some kind of an example on that?
Yeah, I would say that we have, in our district, we've really ramped up our previous efforts as a result of the pandemic and the fact that we were well positioned with devices to pivot into virtual learning, but both our teachers and our students had to learn very quickly how to use it in different ways. And so bullying has been an issue, obviously, in schools probably since they originated. However, use of technology and social media in order to cyberbully has really raised the stakes, I think, both with challenges of parents as well as the school to help safeguard kids from that. And, it's definitely elevated our concerns as it relates to youth mental health, as it has, I think, for adults as well. And so we've really had to elevate our efforts in order to not just talk to kids and parents about right and wrong as it relates to how they treat others through their use of technology, but also to help explain why it's important to be good digital citizens and what kind of negative impact you can have by not using technology for positive purposes when you're having dialogue with other students or groups of students and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's a good point. It really is tough. It's parents in all of our evening parent engagement events that we host nationwide. They like it when we equate digital tools to a car because everybody goes, "Oh, I kind of know how a car works. Like my kids need to see me driving responsibly, model good behavior. They sit in the back seat and watch it. And then eventually, when they're 15 or so, they get a learner's permit and we teach them how to be safe with driving and really careful because it's a tool that could hurt and there's a lot of monitoring. And then even as they're 16 and they get their permit, they can't avoid cars. They have to, use them safely and responsibly so that when they're older. And I love that. And I love what you're also saying about if they avoid the digital tools, it's like avoiding a car. We kind of need to use them to go into the workplace, to college someday, right? And I love how you basically said, I'm paraphrasing what you said, but we can't be an ostrich and put our head in the ground and hide from it. We have to get kids moving in that direction. What would you say to parents that are like, this is overwhelming. I don't know what to do. Do you have any suggestions there on how they can bite-size this and not be afraid of the doom and gloom, but be responsible with it?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is to set some firm boundaries on the amount of screen time at home. And, even at school, we have to be conscientious of the direct instruction and the use of digital platforms, whether it's teaching literacy, math, or other things. What is developmentally appropriate for an elementary age student versus maybe a secondary student, for example. And then the other thing is to, within the school district, we're able to put up firewalls and pretty much control what kids can and can't access on the technology. And we have warning systems in case they're able to get past that firewall so that at least pretty quickly we can get on top of and help correct or right size those situations. I think parents need to really provide oversight and to know or to set boundaries on what the kids can or can't use the technology for. It's been an interesting thing to witness over the years that I've been in education. And even within my own family, I had two daughters that were 7 years apart, and technology grew exponentially during, the time that both of them hit middle school or high school. And now I'm in the position of being a grandparent of 5 grandchildren, all at different ages from age 15 down to 1. And to see where they're at with technology and technology use and how their parents are structuring positive, productive ways for the kids to use it, sometimes for educational purposes and sometimes just to have fun. So, yeah, I think the parents have to set some realistic boundaries while always prioritizing family and school above the fun time that the kids are on there, and then to definitely monitor in some way, shape, or form what their kids are doing on there, whether it's through communicating with other kids through apps or whether it's playing games and things like that.
Yeah, very well said. Okay, so for all of our audience, we're reaching millions of parents a year, keeping kiddos safe. Like the superintendent just said, we get a lot of trends and questions, and parents are asking us, hey, Josh, what advice would you give a student to help them recognize some of the red flags of a dangerous stranger? Let's hear from a real student about how she might help a friend recognize red flags. This is one from one of our online virtual live parent night events. We have real teens that participate and contribute.
If I had a friend talking online to a stranger, I think that I would feel a little bit uncomfortable with the whole situation. I would advise against it because so many indirect issues can come from that, and it could cause something to be worse than if they had just unadded them in the first place. Some red flags that I would have to advise them to cut it off with this person or to stop engaging would be if the person starts to get very involved in their personal life and they seem to be very intrigued in what's going on with them and wanting to know all the little details about what they do and who they are, and just very personal details and things that you wouldn't normally share with a stranger in real life. If they're very persistent and constantly wanting to talk to my friend or constantly trying to be involved in their life or wanting to speak to them, I feel like that's kind of a red flag. Another thing would be if they ask them to ever meet them anywhere in person right from the start, if they feel a sense of being uncomfortable or their intuition is just saying it's wrong, or if my intuition is saying something feels wrong with this, then I think that's a major red flag.
All right, parents. So you're seeing we have real teens in our program. We have weekly live parent events. If your district is a partner, please come out to our events. We want to make you the most informed parent on the block so that you can have a rich dialogue with your kids. And speaking of dialogue, at the end of this, the superintendent's going to give us advice on some dialogue starters to chat. But parents, if your kids are rolling their eyes, we also have teen-led video lessons where you can bring your kids to this program. Every single weekly evening has real teens teaching, premium parent newsletter. And if you come, you're auto-entered to win a 3D printer, an Amazon Kindle, or a Bluetooth speaker. Each week, we're doing huge giveaways. And in addition, parents, I want you to know that if you're ever struggling, Smart Social helps parents keep kids safe with our latest app guides. So we have the best app guides on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, Fortnite, Minecraft, Roblox, Netflix, WhatsApp, and 450 more, not only in English, but in 12 total languages. So we have it really well done in Espanol and also in Mandarin and about 9 other languages. We've also got live events every single week, August 19th, 21st, another one. We've got professional development and impact of screen time. So you're going to see a ton of really great stuff. We hope, parents, that you'll come on out. All right, Superintendent. So we're back over to you. I want to ask you a question about, we've had these 200 plus conversations with communities, 45 states. And here's what we're also hearing. Many parents we're hearing feel overwhelmed trying to keep up with fast moving online trends and digital safety risks. In addition, students are finding ways to increase their screen time and bend the rules, especially when the expectations at school differ significantly from those at home. Superintendent, what trends or pain points are you seeing when it comes to parent engagement? And where do you feel families are struggling the most to stay informed or connected?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest problem that we see is the failure to set and hold to boundaries with kids in terms of the amount of screen time or the times of the day that they can use it. We see it probably most often with like kids that are into gaming and are utilizing or participating in games, which oftentimes are with people who could be strangers, to late hours of the night. So I think the biggest thing is there have to be realistic boundaries set. And then parents need to hold kids accountable to that and, provide realistic and reasonable consequences if for some reason the kids figure out a way to bypass those systems. And that's one of the things that's been quite interesting because our kids are usually a step or two ahead of us with both knowing how to do things, and this and that. So Within a school, we work really hard to build technology training, especially as it relates to positive and productive integration of technology into the curriculum and how kids can safely use technology as both consumers as well as creators of technology. It's a little bit more difficult to do that for parents, but we've tried to do that by providing them sometimes with professional webinars or opportunities to come in and have discussions on how to help provide safe avenues for their kids to utilize technology in positive and productive ways.
Yeah, so true. So many different things. And I hear from a lot of your peers nationwide, Josh, if we can just partner with those parents, we can overcome anything, which I think is so important. I want to dive in real quick for all of our audience. We at Smart Social have 50 live events online, virtual. You can join from anywhere. And they're all on different themes to bring you, the audience member, up to speed on how to protect your kiddos, right? And so I want to give you kind of a little teaser on what we've got coming up later this year. There's one of our big month themes is called Sneaky Ways Video Apps Keeps Teens Watching. And if you come to this event, parents, you can understand the subtle ways video apps are keeping teens captivated, and you'll also learn strategies to help them balance screen time. So one of the biggest questions we get at this event every year is, Josh, what are some tips to help my teen manage their screen time? Well, let's hear from two awesome high school teens with tips on how they're resetting their screen time.
I just try to hold myself accountable about how much time I'm spending, because you can get lost really easily. While you're doing it, you think 30-second videos, what's the harm in that? But then when you've launched 4 hours out of your day, you feel a lot of regret. Why would I spend 5 hours scrolling on this app before bed when I could have been getting more sleep or being more productive throughout my day? My mom, she always lets me know when I'm just dead scrolling on TikTok for hours. Like, she usually tells me how long it's been. You should probably get up and go do the things that you need to do. So besides holding yourself accountable, it's really helpful if you have a parent or someone that cares about you to hold you accountable for how much time you're losing on those video apps.
Some techniques I use to stop myself from getting sucked into social media is being very aware of why I'm on there, as well as understanding how it's addictive. Even though it can be fun to just sit on my phone and scroll or immerse myself in it, keeping in mind the things I need to do and setting aside the time to do that rather than falling into it like a trap.
All right, parents. So let's talk about evaluating your screen time with your kids. What do you mean by that? Well, here's some questions you can ask your teen to have an open conversation and help them to evaluate the quality of their screen time and the quantity as well. So let's look at some dialogue starters. Your kids could be middle schoolers, high schoolers, teenagers. You could ask them, how do you feel after your screen time? And notice how this isn't a yes or no answer. You could also say, parents, oh, my kids are rolling their eyes. Okay, that's okay. You get 10 extra points just for asking, just for opening up the dialogue. You could alter this one and say, how do your friends feel after too much screen time or after their screen time? That's sometimes a pro tip to unlock what your kid's really thinking. They'll talk to you more sometimes. In addition, in our parent night events, we talk about asking your kids, does the app or activity make you feel stronger or weaker after 1 hour? It gets them thinking like, well, and they may not want to answer, but you could use this in the car ride to school or home from school, dinner table, whatever it is around the dinner. Next, what screen time activities or apps make you feel stronger? This is interesting. When I'm looking at YouTube and I'm learning about STEM education, I feel, so we go down that rabbit hole with them and help them. What activities make you feel focused or relaxed? Well, baseball or reading a book. Okay, great. And pull that out of them. It's not a yes or no question. It's really something they have to think about. And last, how much time do you think is healthy? This is a huge one because they get to decide, well, I don't know, maybe after an hour, I don't feel so good because you asked me that earlier, and I guess. And then that now you as a family are helping the kid have buy-in on some rules. And as the superintendent just said, realistic and reasonable consequences. We start with the rules and then there's consequences if we go over and stuff like that. Superintendent, what do you think of these dialogue starters? Where are we missing things, or what would you add on to this to help people get a great dialogue going with their kids?
Yeah, I really love all of those questions. And it got me thinking about, as I shared before, we have structured, explicit instruction and conversations around digital literacy around through our teacher librarians. Actually, we're fortunate to have a teacher librarian in every one of our buildings. But, I think also avenues such as homeroom or ENR time or advisory are great. These would be great conversation starters that I'm sure that students would have some interesting responses to these questions, and kids would learn from kids, which is sometimes the best way for them, or to realize that other kids are experiencing good or bad, what they're experiencing as a result of their use of it. But again, I mean, there are positive, productive things that come out of technology, whether it's YouTube or whether it's even social media platforms like Facebook and things like that. I think the challenge is the limiting the time and the time management, which is a big part of kids growing up as they're going particularly through middle school and high school, being able to balance their time so they take care of their schoolwork, they take care of their home obligations, they can participate in extracurricular activities effectively and do what they need to do to perform there. 2/3 of our juniors and seniors in high school hold a part-time or full-time job in addition to going to school full-time. And so how do you manage all of that so that you're in a position when you go off to your post-secondary, whether it's right into the workforce, whether it's going on to community college, military, vocational school, or four-year college? I mean, there's nothing more important than being able to manage your time there in order to be successful. So that is a charge. And I think, as you said before, it really needs to be collaboration between both parents and school to help get kids to that readiness, because technology is a huge part of all of our lives, whether we want to admit it or not. And in order to be best prepared for future careers and successful livelihoods, people are going to need to know how to use it in a positive, productive way.
Yeah, you said it right. And I love that. And really, parents, if you're listening right now, it is all about the quality and quantity of the screen time as well. As the superintendent, you kind of hinted at that too. It's how do we manage it all? The quantity of the screen time, it's getting in the way. And then also, you said something earlier, there's quality screen time on some of these apps, which I loved. Hey, superintendent, you've been terrific here today. You took a lot of time out of your busy day during back to school to spend time with us. Thanks so much for joining us here today.
Thank you very much. It's been great.
Thank you. And thanks to all of our listeners. Remember, it's all about a little bit of safety so we can someday keep kids successful, shining online, building a positive portfolio of images and videos. They're the real person, the same person behind the scenes and online, so that everything gets discovered, and they're building a resume online that gets discovered by Google and everywhere else. Parents, one last tip. Remember to keep it light, bright, and polite when you're posting online, because your kids are modeling your behavior, and we want to make sure they're doing the right things online. I'm Josh Ochs, the founder of smartsocial.com. Grateful for you watching this episode. We'll see all of you on the next episode. Have a great rest of the day. Thanks for spending time with the smartsocial.com podcast. If today's insights were useful, please share the episode with a fellow parent or educator and subscribe so you never miss our next conversation. And parents, make sure to join one of our next live online events each week to keep your family safe and also enter for a chance to win cool prizes. You can learn more at smartsocial.com. I'm your host, Josh Ochs, and parents, remember to keep it light, bright, and polite, because your kids are watching what you're doing online. I'll see you on the next episode.